Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. This is Lydia Ford, your host for Lydia's Tea Talk. It's great to be able to come to you again live on Facebook. I'm streaming I actually decided to stream on my personal page, my early morning tea page, and you can also see me on my YouTube page. I'm so excited. This is my third Lydia Ford's Tea Talk or Lydia's Tea Talk, a podcast that's steeped with grace or in grace or with grace and soul. We started on February the 5th, a few weeks ago. And we are just so excited to continue with this podcast. I decided I wasn't going to do it every week, but I would do it quarterly. So we started in February for 5 weeks, and then we're going to come back in May for another 5 weeks, and then in October. Or maybe August, and then November we'll come back and finish out the year. But my guests have been gracious. They've been exciting to interview some of my friends, and I found out a lot of things I didn't even know about them. But tonight we have a treat for you. Howard Gaston is a comedian, and he travels around the country. I'm not going to read his bio just yet. He's was out, so he's going to be coming into the studio shortly. But I want to just let you know that this is a podcast that has a lot of information. There he is. I see him in the background. Has a lot of information. We talk about topics that you may not talk about in your church or with your church folk. We deal with grief. We deal with health. We are dealing with spirituality, friendship, finances, marriage in your senior years, dating, a lot of different topics. And this podcast is for people who are between 40 and 80 years old that are seeking fulfillment and purpose. So it's tailor made for you. We invite comments, and I do try diligently to get back to my subscribers or my viewers, and make comments or try to answer some of their questions, which we're going to try to do tonight. It's a little different tonight. I have not interviewed a male yet, so I'm very excited about interviewing a man, and particularly a comic. And so this should be fun. This should be exciting. You know, the Bible says that that laughter does good like medicine. So, you know, it's good for us Christians to not take ourselves so seriously. It's just good to be able to laugh, right? Everybody likes a good laugh. And, you know, there are sometimes we put too many restrictions on ourselves, okay? We're so heavenly minded that we're no earthly good. But laughter is good. Smiling is good. Who wants to walk around, or why should you walk around like you're sucking on a lemon or a lime? God wants you. He created laughter just like he created tears and everything else. He wants us to enjoy him, and he wants us to enjoy life. So without further ado, I am going to bring on our guest tonight, and that's none other than Howard Gaston. And we're bringing him to the stage right now. Hey.
Wow. Hello. Good evening. Good evening, Pastor Lydia. So I'm the first male, huh?
You are the first male,
Wow.
definitely,
I
and the
feel
first
like
comedian ever.
I feel like Jackie Robinson into the major leagues for Black History Month. I guess I'm breaking history and breaking barriers now. Well,
You
this is
definitely
awesome.
are tonight, right here on Lydia's Tea Talk. I just want to tell people a little bit about you, and then I'm gonna, let you talk a little, and then I'll ask you some questions. But viewers, tonight we are blessed. We are honored to have Howard Gaston, also known as Howard G. He's a comedian, an actor, a director, and a playwright from Baltimore, Maryland. Started his comedy career in the early 1990s and became famous for his auto insurance commercial where he coined the phrase, "Kiss my bumper." He has also performed on HBO Def Comedy Jam, BET's Comic View, and The Wire. He's open, watch this, for celebrities like Patti LaBelle, Martin Lawrence, Dave Chappelle, and The Temptations, just to name a few. Currently traveling, I believe, with his gospel musical comedy stage play. That's what I found on Google, called Never Could Have Made It. Are you still doing that, sir?
And when people call me for bookings, I am. It's just that this new play is topping that right now. So, but if anybody call me for it, I'll put the cast together. We'll bring it back out.
Okay, well, you can learn more about him. I just want the audience to know you can learn more about him. You can watch his interviews on YouTube. You can read his article on the McCool Show. Visit his website. He's also active on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And without further ado, I'm going to let him talk about himself. I just want to ask you a few questions, though. Yeah. How did you discover your passion and talent for comedy? How old were you when you were first inspired to go into the arts and entertainment?
Well, I knew I was going to do that when I was in the 7th grade. Actually, I was in the 6th grade. I was in elementary school. My sister was in, my older sister, she was in, her name's Sheila. She's also my mentor. She was in a play in junior high school, and it was called The Pied Piper. And when they did The Pied Piper, I went to that show, and I'll never forget how much I was amazed. Everybody was 1 or 2 years older than me. They could sing, they could dance, they act. And what the music director did, his name was Mr. Harrison, Lord rest his soul, who passed away. He took the storyline of The Pied Piper and made it into a musical with soul, with songs of the 80s and 70s, and it was really nice. I mean, and people can really sing. When I left out of there that night, I looked up to the sky and I told God, I said, God, that's what I want to do. And I said, God, you help me become an entertainer. And I will put your name on everything I do. And I made a promise that day. I never forget it. I was outside that theater. I looked up in the sky. The sky was, I mean, it was a clear sky. You could see the stars. I looked at this one star, and I just knew God was looking at me and after that star. And I made that vow right then and there. And I never looked back. And then I started, I went to the military. And then when I got out of the military, I met my sister who was doing comedy. She introduced me to a guy named Ricky Shackelford, who I still do shows with to this day. And then he introduced me to stand-up comedy. And I started writing. I used to be a video guy first. I used to be the person behind the scenes and I used to videotape him and everything. But let me start from the very beginning. At first, I used to be a DJ. Okay. I used to DJ at clubs and parties. And I remember, I was 12, 13. I had my own DJ group. And we would call it Unique Sound Productions, myself and 3 partners. And we would DJ different parties, different functions. And I never forget, when I used to DJ, I had to go to school the next day. Some people had parties on Thursday nights or Wednesday night. Right. What? And these are grown folks having parties this late. And I'm DJing. Wow. I'm getting in 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up in 4 hours to go to school. I never forget it. I remember my father used to pick me up in his Cadillac. We used to put all the equipment in his Cadillac. And then, I was a DJ way out in the county somewhere for people private parties. He would pick me up 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I had to get back up in 4 or 5 hours to be to school. And so I started as a DJ first, then transitioned to a comedian.
So who are some of your, I know you mentioned your sister, but who are your influencers and mentors? And how do they get you started in the business? Well,
of course, my sister, Sheila Gaskins, Ricky Shackelford, they're the 2 local inspirational people. And then on a celebrity status, it would have to be Eddie Murphy, of course, Martin Lawrence, and then watching Living Color, I watched those guys and see how well they did when they did characters and did their impressions and stuff like that. Because I do a few celebrity impressions as well, and so they mold me into the comic I am now.
Okay. So what are your challenges? What are some of the challenges and rewards of being a comedian? Not just in the DMV area, but as you travel around, and how do you balance personal and your professional life?
Um, the we the it's just the work. Before the pandemic, I was working almost every weekend. And if I
Mhm.
wasn't working every weekend, I had a play that was touring, and we did different cities for my stage play production. For the one you was talking about, never could have made it. We had dates lined up. We was traveling. We was doing everything. Once the pandemic hit, that changed a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
change.
because I was doing a lot of churches. I was up in Connecticut. My cousin Yvette would tell you she had me perform at a church function up there, and my sister and another comedian, we came up there and performed in Hartford. Y'all in Hartford, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We was in Hartford and we performed up there, and then the challenges you have now with this new internet sensation and social media. A lot of these comics, I call them, they having these quick uh, careers where things are happening instantly, like microwave. It's like boom, boom, boom. They do these videos.
Hmm.
People want to see them live. They come out and see them live. Um, I don't like a lot of my stuff on YouTube too much, but I do what I have to do as far as promotion and get myself out there. But the challenge I see now is just that things are just opening back up now, where
Hmm.
before it was a real slow process. And I
Hmm.
heard this pastor said one time I visited this church, and I'll never forget what she said. She said, "It's funny how the bowling alley is packed, the clubs are packed, the restaurants are packed, but yet these churches are not packed yet, and the churches is
Not
not
back yet.
doing a thing." And then she said she made a good point. She said a lot of these pastors are using this pandemic thing to get out of ministry. They closed up their churches so they could get out. They was waiting for a good way to get out because they didn't want to continue to serve the Lord that way in that capacity and become pastors. So here's their ticket to way out of get out of it. I know I had churches say, "No, I ain't gonna open my church back up because I'm scared the scene's going to catch it, catch the disease and stuff like that." But then the shots were out, mask was out,
Right.
and the numbers have dropped tremendously. But why you still ain't open your church back up?
Right.
So they
It's still an issue, sir. Speaking of church, what do you think is the how does the church embrace your comedy, and what is it about Christians in which they feel that they can't go to a comedy show or a comedy uh, routine, watch a comedy routine, or what is it about us that that makes us feel that we cannot engage and have fun and laugh at comedians and whatnot? Do you find
well,
it strange that we have this kind of feeling towards
yeah,
comedy and going to a show?
A lot of Christians, excuse me, they might feel as though um, secular comedy is not of God. They feel like the curse words, the vulgar, the vulgar language is not of God, so they feel uncomfortable in that type of setting. Me personally, I'm not a real vulgar comedian anyway, so when I'm performing in a club setting, I'm not going to be too vulgar anyway. You got some comics that, excuse me, some comics, boy, they'll push the envelope and they'll go, they'll push it all the way to the end until it falls off. They don't care. Um, I'm an older gentleman, so I like to have uh, some type of respect for my audience, and you never know who's in the audience. You never know in the
Never.
audience. I remember one time I performed at I'll never forget it. It was in Pennsylvania, and it was pretty much a predominantly white audience, probably about 300 or 400 people there, and I was the headliner. After I went off stage, I did very well. They gave me like a stand ovation almost. When I came off stage, this white guy came up to me, older gentleman. He shook my hand. When he shook my hand, he had two $100 bills in it. And I said,
Whoa.
"Excuse me, what's this for?" He said, man, I just want to bless you because I didn't know what to give you or what to do for you because I just buried my mother yesterday. And
Wow.
he said he had the tickets for the comedy show and he was debating not to come. And he said, you touched my heart and made me laugh so much. He said, I'm so glad that I came. He just said, you changed my, how you say, he said, I changed his life, I changed his spirit. And he just had to bless me. He just had to do something. He didn't know what to do, so he just went in his pocket. He pulled out. He said, if I had more, I'd give you more. He said, man, but you touched my soul, and it made me just think about how much time he had with his mother, how much good times he had. Because he said his mother used to like to laugh too, and actually, she was on the other ticket that he had was for her, and because I think she died suddenly. Yes, and so that right there touched. That's something I'll never forget. So I know that comedy and comedians can change people's lives. We can bring laughter to soul. Like you said, laughter is good for the soul. We could do something for people that's hurting, and it's no different than a pastor with a good word. You know, I've seen people come up and bless pastors on while they preaching. They just drop money right there on their feet because they had such a good word. The people don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then when the offering come around, they bless them that way. So comedians are somewhat like pastors almost. I mean,
they help break up that fallow ground. They do.
Right.
I remember when I lost my husband. I lost my daughter first, and then right behind her, my husband died. And this was back in 2010 and 11. And sometimes I would go on YouTube and I would turn on. I love Sinbad, and there's another Christian comedian. I would
Michael Williams. Is it Michael Williams?
No, was something Junior.
Michael Williams Jr. Yeah, tall, skinny guy, kid.
Yeah, skinny guy.
Yeah, he's really funny. When you say Christian, I thought about him because I know he's real popular in the churches and stuff.
Yeah, because I just needed to get out that funk or feeling sorry for myself or just, been in a lot of pain. I just needed to laugh.
Depression.
Get out of that depression. I just needed to laugh. And Christian folks really need to laugh.
Right.
They need to enjoy life no matter what's going on. It kind of, like I said, it kind of breaks up that fallow ground. It breaks up that depression. And it just helps you to refocus and, kind of get your mind off of your own troubles, And then when you can hang out with a BFF or you can hang out with a friend, it's even better. Okay.
Exactly.
It's even better when you have someone to enjoy, your comedy with. Now, how do you create and deliver your jokes and stories? And what are some of the topics and themes that you like to explore in your comedy? How do you create and deliver jokes and stories?
Pretty much, I'm trying to make a little lighting better here for me. Some of my stuff is real life incidents that took place in my life. And so what I do is I would, excuse me, I'm trying to set this up a little bit. I would use real life situations and try to make it funny because especially in churches, because when you go to church, to me, church is funny. The people there are hilarious, especially the deaconess, the deacons, the choir, everybody at church. They're just hilarious to me. So when you go and you witness all this stuff, I'll be just observing a lot of times, and I just, especially the old ladies at the church, they always got something to say. And they always whispering to each other. They sit in the back and complain about everything. They complain about everything. Look what she got there. And she knows she ain't supposed to be wearing that outfit to this church like that, looking like a Jezebel. They always got something to say. And so I used to hear that, and I would sit behind them. I never forget when I used to go to church when I was about 7 to 8 years old. And I never get these two old ladies, they were good friends. They would sit in the middle of the aisle and they just sat. People would know not to sit in their seats. That's how well their seats were like etched in stone.
Right.
And they would just talk about the pastor, talk about the first lady, talk about the choir director. Look at that boy. I think he got a little sissy in him. I mean, I don't mean no harm, but you see how he does that stuff when he's singing. Now, who the choir director? Like, I mean, they always got something to say. So I used to find those ladies was hilarious to me, hilarious. And so I would create a character because I do an old lady character as well, and I've been doing this for years. Before Tyler Perry.
Can you give us a sample?
Well, her name is Grandma G, and she taught like, "Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Praise the God, praise the Lord." I said, "Whew, Lord, it's so good to be here in the church." And pastor is doing a fourth and fifth offering now for the building fund. I don't know why we've been building the roof and the building and roof fund for 25 years now, and we still got the same holes in it. I don't know what this money is going to. Maybe pastor trying to buy a Bentley. I don't know, but I don't. I'm tired of giving. I gave all I could give. I can't give no more. So hopefully the Lord will bless him with the roof right now. It's just, and she's just spontaneous. She's a little old lady character. She's spontaneous. She talks about everybody, talks about everything, and then she had jokes along with it too. Because some people, they want to know if you got humor with it. Don't just be talking about people and cracking and all that stuff. Can you do some jokes behind it? So
I find funerals are places where you can get a lot.
Yes, you get a lot. That's another place.
Always something funny going on. It's a sad occasion, but there's always something funny that goes on at a funeral.
Yes. Grandma G used to do a bit where I would say, Grandma G, you ever go to a funeral and they read an obituary and you looking down at the obituary while they reading, and you look up at the coffin and you look back down at the obituary and you look back at the coffin and then you look at the obituary one more time. Because you want to know, are they talking about the same person? Because he owed me $50. So it's so funny because that's exactly where you get a lot of material from funerals. Yes.
From funerals, yeah. Okay, here's another question. How do you cope with, like, do you ever have a problem with hecklers? How do you cope with criticism or rejection or failure? Have you ever dealt with all of that, or hecklers, or a difficult audience?
Well, I don't get hecklers too often. For one, I'm 6'4", 280 something pounds, so I'm a big guy. So I work out a little bit and I carry my own, but I don't really get hecklers too often. And when I do, I normally shut them down quick because I started out in the clubs. So when you start in the clubs, you already trained, and I'm in a club in Baltimore City. If you know about Baltimore City, Baltimore City is not a real nice town. We kind of hard up here. And so, yes. So, this city trained me. So when I do go out of town, I don't have any hecklers too much, not too many. And if I do, I normally shut them down pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And most likely too, I try to make the heckler my friend or embarrass him with it, well, maybe I should be quiet. Maybe I shouldn't mess with this guy like that. I'm trying to make the heckler on my side if I can.
Okay. How do you incorporate your faith in? Do you ever incorporate your faith and spirituality in your comedy? And how do you balance humor and reverence in the gospel musical comedy stage? Whatever you're doing.
Well,
how do you keep that balance?
Most every play I write, I produce is going to have some type of spiritual theme in it, no matter what. Whether the person, the main character, changed their life, gave their life to Christ, did something that changed their life, but it's always Christ based, some kind of way. What I do is I do the comedy first to catch their attention. I bring a little drama in it, and then bring them home to the Christ at the end, because that way it lets you know, no matter all you're going through, all you've been through, once you put Christ in it, he's going to work it out. He's going to make everything's all right. So that's what, and a lot of people, when I write my plays, they experiencing the same things themselves. They going through the same things. Some of the stuff be personal. Some of the stuff hit home for them. Especially my that play I got, Never Could Have Made It. It was a real powerful play, and that really brought a lot of tears to people's eyes and stuff. They laugh, but then they, I made them cry too because it hit home a lot. It's a real powerful storyline. So I try to balance of where, like I said, no matter what, I always told God, even when I made that vow when I was in the 6th grade, that I was always going to put you in everything I do because I'm always going to keep you with me no matter what. Because I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you.
Right. So what are you doing currently? What are you doing?
Currently, that's funny. Currently, because, the Lord must have told me that the pandemic was coming. So it's so ironic. I had got a job at as a maintenance guy at this senior citizen condominiums complex, and it had benefits, good pay grade. I got weekends off. I get off on Friday, so I took the job. I took the job in like October before the pandemic started. Next thing you know, that pandemic broke out, and I still kept my job. I was still able to provide for my family. I was still able to, pay my car notes, still, pay bills, do everything. While everybody else was, comics, professional comics like myself was like, man, I had to get unemployment. I had to do this. I had to do that. But God must have knew that thing was coming because that's so ironic that that job came and I took it, and God must have knew. That's why I always give him the glory and the honor. He must have knew, like, son, I'm gonna have to set you down for a little bit because something's great happening in this world and you won't be able to tell no jokes for a while. And next thing you know, boom, boom, boom. And then I was still telling jokes. So some jokes I was doing online because some people hired me to do online comedy. So I did do a lot of bookings like that. Everything was done electronically, even the Cash App or Zelle, and everything was done. And I would have a live audience. Yeah, Zoom. That's why when Zoom came out, Zoom blew up because Zoom.
It sure did.
I did so many Zoom shows, churches, pastors' anniversaries, pastor birthdays. It was crazy. So I was still getting bookings and working the other job with a mask, and then in the evening doing Zoom jokes and Zoom on weekends. So that's what happened to me, and and he prepared me for it. So I thank him every day for preparing me for that.
What are some of the names of your plays other than Never Would Have Made It?
My first play was called As Cherry Hill Turns, and Cherry Hill Turn is a community down here in Baltimore that's real popular, and it's a comedy spoof, and that was like my first play. And that dealt with inner city stuff. And then once again, I brought it home where people gave their life to Christ. Then the next play I wrote was Love Thy Neighbor. And I had that play out. And that was about two neighbors who did everything together until a third neighbor moved in. And she tried to befriend them and become, she put up a front like she was on their side. She was a blessing to them. And meanwhile, she was actually a witch and Satan in disguise. And she did some evil stuff behind their back, caused them to break up their friendship. They had a 35-year friendship, and their children grew up together, did everything together. And then she caused chaos and stuff like that. And then it was revealed who she was in disguise. And that was spiritually based. Then I came up with Never Could Have Made It Part 1. Then I did Never Could Have Made It Part 2. And then I wrote another play, which is right out now. The one I'm doing now is Sanford & Son, the stage play.
Oh, what's that all about?
What if Red Fox was alive today, what would he be doing? I got all the old characters, Esther, I got Bubba, Grady, and if he was alive today, dealing with Trump as president, dealing with these gas prices, dealing with this internet, dealing with this cell phone stuff, dealing with all this stuff that's going on, Biden, and how would Red Fox act like today? Because basically where I wrote it is, what if Red Fox was in a coma for all these years and he woke up now? And how, and it's so funny. The guy who plays Red Fox, he does a great impression of him. And actually, it's the same guy, Ricky Shackelford. He's my mentor. And then we got another young lady who played Esther. She does Esther to a T. Looks like Esther, acts like Esther.
Oh, wow.
Once she put that wig and hat on and that Bible in her hand, you would think you watching the sitcom all over again. And so that's doing really well. We got 3 shows coming up.
Where are you performing that play?
It's going to be Baltimore and Towson, Maryland. April the 20th, we're doing 3 shows, 3 o'clock, 5:30, and an 8 o'clock show. And it's going to be in Towson, Maryland. Tickets are $30. You can inbox me, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram for tickets. This player is going to sell out because every time we do it, I did it right before COVID, and it sold out. We did 1,200 people. Then we did it again last year, and we did 1,400 people. Now, by popular demand, people want to see it again. So we're bringing it back out again. And this time I rearranged some stuff. I changed some stuff, added new cast members in there. So it's going to be got a little twist to it. So even you saw the play the first time, you can come out and see it again. You're going to be like, wow, that's not the same play that I saw before. No, change some stuff in it. So, yeah.
So this is all live, right?
Live, yes.
Okay. At theaters, what type of venue?
It's a hall, and it has a stage. And so we do it at it's like a concert hall. So we're doing it in a huge concert hall. But this one is going to be more intimate. It only holds 200 people. Mm-hmm. Where we did it before, it was a whole 375 people. But this is going to be smaller and more intimate because we want the people to really be involved and get involved with this show and be right up on us, So we're doing it in a smaller theater this time.
Have you ever had anybody get saved at one of your events?
Not at comedy shows, yes. At the comedy shows and at the stage play. Because at one time, because when I did my play Never Could Have Made It, I have these powerful liturgical dancers. The mother, she's also like a sister to me, and she and her daughters, and her daughter teaches theater and teaches dance. They come in and they do this powerful dance in the play. I mean, people be giving their life to Christ. I've seen people come up and put money on the altar for them. It's these girls and that anointing and that dance and then the music that we use for it, and then how people change in the play because you got characters in the play that's one way, and then once the Holy Spirit hits them, they completely change and they're different. And it's amazing to see. You have to see it for yourself. Never Could Have Made It. It's a powerful play.
It's important to emphasize the fact that, the word says you're to be in the world, but not of the world.
Of the world.
But it also, of the world. But it also says that, a lot of times we just preach to the choir. We keep preaching to the same old people over and over again, especially in the church. So, but in Matthew 28, it says, go into all the world and preach the gospel. Now, I have a different idea about preaching that maybe not copacetic with some folk. Because when I think about preaching the gospel, it's not just, exegeting the text and hooping and hollering. Because when I think about preaching the gospel, you own a car dealership, and if I need a car, I can come and get a car. If I'm the president of a bank and I need a loan, I need to buy a house or whatever, and you own the bank, you're the president, I can come to you and I can get a loan or I can get finances or whatever. To me, that's preaching. Okay.
Right.
God gave you a gift as comedy, right? I'm broke down, busted, disgusted, jacked up, messed up, torn from the floor, and I need my spirit lifted. And I come and see your show. And in your show, you not only make me laugh, but you touch my soul, you touch my spirit. To me, that's preaching. So what we need to do is change our whole dynamics and concept of what preaching is, because God gives us gifts to be used, not just in the church, See, I believe now that we're not even in the church, we're in the kingdom age
Right.
right now. And God has a great big kingdom. It's not just the church, because we know how to do church, but do we know how to do kingdom? And do we know how to go into the world and preach and be a blessing to
Right.
people? Use your gifts, your talents to bless people. So you never know when the Holy Ghost will break out. Okay, in
Yeah.
a theater, right? In a concert hall, in a grocery store. Come on, somebody. So
Right.
that's great. That's great that
Yeah.
people can come and enjoy themselves, enjoy being with other people, meet new people.
Yes.
Right? Everybody ain't saved. There's a
Right.
whole lot of people. Jesus came to seek the ones that didn't have a relationship with him. The sinner. That's what
Right.
he came for.
And he went
Right?
to where the sinners were.
And he went where they were. Thank
Right.
you for saying that.
Right.
He went where they were.
And he used the most sinful people. I mean, look at Peter. I mean, the people he used were not Moses. Look at Moses. Was he drunk? Look at Noah. Noah. All these people wasn't already righteous and holy as thou.
Were. The people that God used, none of them were perfect.
None of them.
None. Okay. But we're always judging and looking at, oh, I can't go there. I can't sing that. I can't listen to R&B on my in the car, or on the radio, or in my bedroom, or whatever. The devil is a
Yep. Yes, he is.
He is a liar. God he came that we might have life, okay,
right,
and have it more abundantly. So when you're not opening up yourself to laughter and to places where you can go and have, good entertainment, safe entertainment, you're really not living.
Right. And let me just say this too, Pastor Lydia. I told you I do an old lady character. So lately at my shows, I know some pastors disagree of me doing an old lady character. So lately what I've been doing, especially when I see young men, young boys in the audience, after I perform, I take all that stuff off while I'm on stage, and I give a testimony, and I let them know, you looking at a real man of God, a married man of God, saved man of God, heterosexual, ain't no transgender stuff going on, ain't nothing going on sinful, and I do the character to catch your attention and to make you laugh at the same time. All I'm doing is doing an impression of how the old ladies are. But I get more standing ovations after I do that at my shows than I do now any other place I go. Because now they see the real me, the man in me, the God in me afterwards, So that's been like a real powerful testimony I do at the end of my show, especially when I see young men in the audience, because I do not want to mislead them. And I let them know up front, this is just a character I'm doing, guys. This. You want to see me? You get to meet me. Come up and meet me at the show, and I'll show you a real man of God, a man who has faith, a man who prays, a man who loves his family, a man who cares about God's people. So I just do what I had to do to catch your attention, and it works.
And I'm glad you said that, because God uses a lot of different bait to catch people's attention. Okay.
Right.
And the bait is our gifts and our talent, and that we are all different. We don't have the same talent. I'm doing podcasting right now, and I'm sure there are millions of people that do podcasting, but they don't do it like Lydia Ford. Okay.
Right.
Because we're all unique and different. And so God uses a variety of people of different colors, cultures, different talents to reel in to whatever he has to do, whether it's drama, whether it's comedy, whether it's medicine, whatever, to get the attention of the people. And then once we reel them in, once we get them hooked, then we, present Christ to them, right? But the Holy Spirit is the one that has to clean them up.
Exactly. Okay? That's what my pastors always say. You get them there. My pastor tell me, she said, you bring them here, and the Holy Spirit will do the rest. That's all she should say. Because they said, you bring that drug dealer here, you bring that street person here, you bring that lesbian here, that person of the streets and stuff, and the Holy Spirit will do the rest. That's all it takes. And if they're not ready, eventually it's going to catch up to them.
Yes, yes. Tell me about your experience on Showtime at the Apollo and Def Comedy Jam. I remember Def Comedy Jam, and my kids were little. Well, they were like adolescents, and I would catch them watching Def Comedy Jam. And I was like, turn it on. And then after a while, I started watching it with them. I started watching some of the comedians because they were just, a little vulgar, but just totally, hysterical. And of course, Showtime at the Apollo, that was funny in and of itself. That was a really great show. I think it was a Steve Harvey. They had somebody else that was
Yes,
hosting that one time.
Steve Harvey. When
Yeah.
I did it, it
Oh,
wasn't Steve Harvey. It was what's the gentleman's name? The old host, Sinbad, actually hosted my show. That was one.
oh, okay.
First, I went up as an amateur, and I did really well. Didn't get booed,
Okay.
so they invited me back a year later, and then I went as a professional comedian. I was actually on the same show with Yo-Yo, and Cedric Entertainer, and
Oh, okay.
yes, and so I did that on the second time. And then when I did Def Comedy Jams, who was my host with Def Comedy Jams? I want to say it wasn't Martin. It was who was the host? It wasn't Martin. Oh, that was when Steve Harvey was hosting. Well, now, Steve Harvey was hosting Def Jam when I was the Def Jam,
Oh, yeah.
and that was a wild spread. That was over in New York, and we had a good time. That audience is so live. New York audiences. I just did New Jersey last night. They just you gotta bring the fire and you gotta bring it fast. They give you first 90 seconds. If you don't hit them over the head, you better get ready.
So
You better have something in your arsenal ready for them because they be ready for you. It's like, all right, make me laugh. And because New York people, they go through so much, dealing with so much in there. You can be surprised what people go through when they come to a comedy show. What's already on their mind? They think about court.
Right.
They think about their children. Think about somebody's parents passing away. It's just so much on their mind. And so you got to bring the heat when you come to a crowd like that. Where and down south, you take your time. They love you. They just happy to see somebody from up north. And even if you don't even talk like them, then you want to get their attention. Because when you don't have a southern accent, you're not from down south. They feel like you northerners, as they call you. You guys, are pretty funny. So you got a better chance down south.
Is there a difference between white audiences and black
Oh yeah. Back in the day, it was, but not this new young crowd that's coming up. These new back in the day. In the 80s and 90s, yes. White crowds were so much easier. You could say anything and they'd laugh. Black people, you gotta, same thing. You gotta bring it. You gotta, they say, sit back, have their arms folded. Make me laugh. They be having some attitudes, stuff like that. But then nowadays, this new white crowd is coming up. They are pretty much like your black crowd. They pretty much like black folks.
Okay. All right. Let me ask this one. I want to ask about this commercial. The Kiss My Bumper. How did that come? And what insurance company was that?
It was called back here. It was a local commercial. It was only in the DMV area. It was in Baltimore, some parts of Delaware, Virginia, and Maryland. That's all it was. It was only in those 3 states, tri-state area.
Okay.
When I first auditioned, I was up in New York doing comedy. My agent called me and said, "Hey, it's an audition in Glen Burnie, Maryland. How soon can you get there?" I said, "Well, I'm driving back to New York now, but I have a time to audition." She said, "You got till 5 o'clock." When she called me, it was like 1:30. So I hurry up, jump in the car. I said, "Let's go." And then you got to think rush hour traffic.
Right.
So I get down there. It was probably after 6. They were bringing the camera down. When I tell you bringing the camera down, the cameraman was, when I run into the place, I run in there breathing all hard. "I'm here for the audition." And they was like, "Sorry, but the audition's over. The cameraman was breaking down." I said, "Well, wait. I drove all the way from New York," which I didn't lie, but I did drove to New York, but I didn't know I lived in Maryland. So, so they said, all right. So they put the camera back up. The lady told me the scenario, and she said, think of something you would say if the insurance company, if you could think of a catchphrase for us. I went out to the hallway. I thought of some different things I would say. And so when I came back, I came up with the theme. Tell us other insurance companies to kiss my bumper, just kiss it. I did this crazy laugh. The woman screamed and she said, that's it. That's what we've been looking for. That's the first time I went to an audition where the person told me I got it right there.
Wow.
I had never done it in my life. No one never said, you got the part right there, right now. That sounds like a movie, something on a TV show. That never happened before. And so I got that commercial like in early 90s, like 93. And next thing you know, 20 something years later, I just stopped doing it in 2000. And when I started, they had one location. Once I started doing commercial, they ended up having 26 locations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they took care of me for years. I used to get a check every month for doing that and for being that spokesperson. And it opened up doors too for my comedy as well, because then people see me from television, and I would get booked at different churches, different shows. And that's why I introduced the old lady character on the commercials. If you YouTube it, you can see my commercials and stuff. I can send you links on the commercial and stuff as well.
Send me a link. So what are some of the highlights and memorable moments of your career? And what are some goals and some dreams that you still have for the future?
One of my highlights would probably be when I went to Kuwait, Afghanistan, performing for the troops. That was like, wow. Wow. I was in Saudi Arabia. I went to Pakistan. We went to Dubai. When I went to Dubai wasn't the city that it is now. They were just building. Matter of fact, that famous hotel, the Emirates or whatever it's called, the one that's real expensive, they had just started building that. And we actually could have went on tour and went in the lobby when they was building it, but they were charging then. They wanted you to pay money to just come in the lobby and see it, how beautiful it is. And we're like, man, but we saw the outside of it. We saw them building up. It was nothing, but that's that hotel and all it's saying. I go there. My son just got back from Dubai about 3 weeks ago. He showed me a picture and video. All that stuff was a city there. All that stuff was there. So I think I was there in 2003. I went the year after the 9/11. I was there a year after. And when we go over there, we didn't have no escort. We didn't have no military escort because they told us we were better off walking around as civilians because they saw a military escort with you. They might think you somebody famous and you might get snatched or killed. So they said you'd be better off just be yourself. Oh, they said whatever you do not wear T-shirt for me. I love USA. I love New York. Stuff like that. Do not wear none of that stuff because then you'll be a showed up target. Yeah. And so we went to different places. We was actually on the military bases where the military stayed. We performed for the troops, and they were so appreciative. You would thought we were celebrities. We was rock stars over there. We signed autographs. We had T-shirts. We was performing in front of large military bases with audience like 700,000 people, 1,000 guys there and stuff like that. And they really, really enjoyed us. It was myself and 3 other comedians we put together. It was called the Bad Boys of Baltimore comedy tour over at USO. And it was great. It was great. And I'll never forget. And I'm gonna tell you how devoted those military soldiers are. We was over there one day, and if you remember, during the 9/11, they had a lot of little incidents that took place after 9/11. So one of them was they had bombed somewhere in Kuwait. Somebody had did some type of bomb. They killed some type of president or something over there. And so we was on a military base and we was on lockdown. So when we was on lockdown, they told us to go to our rooms. We were staying at this palace. We was on a palace where one of the princes had gave the United States their actual palace, and all the military guys would stay there.
Wow.
And they told us to go to our rooms. They locked the door. We had 2 armed military guys watched our door. And the guy told me, young boy told me, I'll never forget it. He said, Mr. Howard, don't worry about it. We're going to protect you, and you have my word, and we'll put our life on it. These guys put that life on a line.
Wow.
For us. So they had their guns drawn and everything, and they stood in front of our door in case, because they thought since that bombing that they might come over and mess with to the palace too. But those guys was willing to give their life up to protect us. And I was just blown away from that. I was like, you guys are the best. And, that's something I'll never forget. Never forget. And this is after we performed, so they already knew it was funny. And we was eating and everything. And they really want to take care of us over there. So that was one of the highlights. Another thing, when I had a chance to meet Tyler Perry, that was another highlight. Opened up for Martin Lawrence. That was a good highlight, another highlight. Dave Chappelle. When I opened up for Dave Chappelle was 17. I was like 17. I was 22, 21.
Wow.
And he was the headliner, and I'm opened up for him. And we took a picture.
17?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle started when he was 16. He started when he was 16. And he was already headlining clubs at 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
Already.
Wow. Already.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got a picture with him too. And this is after he did that movie Men in Tights. So he was already somewhat a little famous already.
Let me ask this question. How many children do you have?
Currently I have 7.
7 kids. Are any of them funny?
Yes, believe it or not. My oldest son, he was a comedian, and he and I used to do a father and son comedy team. We would go to different cities and perform. South Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania. We did a lot of East Coast traveling, California, and he would open up for me, and we would do a father and son. We got an actual DVD out too. That's really funny. He's a comedian, and then my daughter, she was on The Wire, and she used to do comedy. If you watch HBO's The Wire, she was on there. I was on there as well. And then my other son, my middle son, he's a promoter and he's a poet, and he thinks he's funny. And so you got like 3 or 4 of them still in the entertainment business as well. The rest of them have regular jobs, so they like, I ain't trying to do that. And then some of my kids are through my marriage as well. I have one son, he's a hip hop artist, and I raised him since he was 9. And he's a hip hop artist, and he's doing quite well as well too. He's doing pretty well for himself as well right now too.
So you got quite a few in the entertainment business, trying to follow in your footsteps.
Yes.
So speaking of DVDs, how do you adapt to the changing times and different platforms, media, TV, radio, online, live show? How do you adapt to these different?
Well, it was a slow process, but I got it now. Like now, when I do the Sanford Sun, I don't physically sell a DVD anymore. I used to, and I still got a few printed up, and even in my plays and stand-up comedy. But now I'm doing links, and what I do is I send people links. Like I can send you a link of my Sanford Sun stage play. You pay a fee. I send you a whole link. It's a private YouTube link, and you can watch the whole Sanford Sun stage play. Yes. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. And for those who are interested, it's $25, and that's a 2-hour play, and you get to see the whole. It was shot professionally, and of course my stand-up comedy as well. And so I send you links to your cell phone, to your computer, your laptop. So
do you use those for church people also, for pastors or churches that just want to have a night out and just listen to some comedy?
Yes, of course they can. Yep. Anybody that's want to purchase it, they can, because even a Sanford Sun stage play is clean. There's no cursing in it. It does have a little bit of adult content because Redd Foxx. It was Redd Foxx.
Yeah,
So
right.
but there's no cursing in it. But yeah, so I
Mhm.
had to adapt and change as things as time changed. I had to get new
And you never
technology.
could have made it too?
Well, never could have made it. I'm great. Convert that over to a link.
Mhm.
I don't have it as a link yet. I'm actually in the process of doing that. And everything I have now going to be on links. So that way I'll just send links out to different people, a private YouTube link. That way you can watch it and, you have your personal, on your phone and everything else.
Okay. How do you handle fame and recognition? Are you recognizable when people meet you in the store, on the street? And
Especially like about 10 years ago, especially when my commercials were real popular, they would know me from the commercial when I go in stores, when I go, especially in the DC area, because the commercials were really, really popular in DC. Their home base was out of Laurel, Maryland, which is like 25 minutes out of DC. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was really popular with the commercial because the commercial really made me like stand out. Then some people remember me from The Wire. When I was on The Wire, I was on season two, the finale. I was the one. I played a desk sergeant where the Italian guy from the docks he turned himself into me on The Wire. I had like 6 lines. So yeah, pretty much. I'm humble. So when people recognize me, I say, "Hey, how you doing? Want to take a picture? We take a picture." Um, I love it. I mean, I don't have no regrets and no shame. I haven't done nothing that that people that I would be ashamed of anyway.
Mhm. So, what tips or what advice would you give to a young person or an aspiring comedian or anybody that wants to pursue, their passion of comedy?
One,
Advice you would give.
write your own material. Two, work on your craft. Work on your jokes. Work on your time and work on your delivery. If you're an actor, work with your character. Learn your lines. Um, Show up at your auditions on time. Audition for everything. Um, when my agent sent me out different stuff, she used to send me out stuff that she thinks only they would want a quote unquote white guy to do, or they'll want a guy to look a certain way. I said, no, send me out anyway. And 9 times 10, I would get those parts anyway. And they were like, she'll call me back surprised, Howard, guess what? So what? They really like you. They want you. I'm like, yeah. I'd be like, the same audition that you didn't want me to go to at first. She said, now Howard, it wasn't like that. And they're like, yeah, right. So, um, step out of the box. Go to these auditions. Go to things that you don't think you would be a good fit for you, because you never know what people are looking for,
Right.
and you might change the game. You might change up. So I tell upcoming comics, upcoming actors, just stay in the game. Put the feet to the pavement and keep out there. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and I should say I had a successful life doing it. I mean, I'm not quote unquote, your Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor and all these other, big time comedians and stuff like that. But I do work a lot. I work almost every weekend, and it's a good income. And I'm in the process of working on some other stuff too, because I'm not only doing really well with the play, but I'm also creating a new game show as well. So you never know.
What about women? Thought just came to my mind. What about women in comedy? Is it harder for women to get started in comedy more so than
It
males?
is, and it's not. Nowadays, it's not as easy as hard. It's like, are you on Instagram? How many Instagram followers you have? Um, the women are very outspoken, very strong-minded, very funny. So nowadays, these women are really, some of these women are funnier than men. And I book a lot of women when I do shows. I just booked a young female comedian with me and her. We're going out of town in Virginia. We got a big show we're doing in June. So a lot of times I will book women just to change the pace, change the atmosphere. Because the women are out there and they funny as I don't know what. They doing the daggone thing. Yes.
Okay. Last question. and it just came up in my spirit too. What do you think about all the controversy that's going on back and forth with these famous now black comedians? And I'm talking about the interview that what is this? Shannon
Love Shay Shay
had
and
with Cat.
Cat Williams, the
All
famous
of this
intimate.
back and forth, all just lambasting one another. Just
One thing I gotta admit, Cat Williams and Shay Shay changed the game. They changed the market. They made comedians relevant again. Some comedians you never heard of, you never seen in such a long time. Mark Curry from Hanging Mr. Cooper, who's very funny, who's still out here traveling, still touring. He brought him back to life where people, they saying now when he go out and perform, his shows are selling out. Saturday entertainment shows are selling out. Mike Epps shows selling out.
What's his name? Hinton? The guy that was on Living Single.
Yeah, that's the one I just showed last night.
Right. Yeah, they played the janitor.
Right.
He's funny.
Yeah, it's very funny. Very funny. So all they did was shook the beehive, shall I say. Because then he made comics that wasn't relevant in a while, relevant all over again. And made people want to come out to comedy shows more. It's no more than a controversy. I know some quote unquote black leaders don't like it. Reverend, what's his name? The Reverend from TV show. He don't like the fact that Monique and all these guys are fussing, going back and forth with each other. But all it did was it shook the beehive. Yeah, Judge Mathis, right. Yeah. It shook the beehive. A lot of these comics was telling people about this stuff. Monique was telling y'all about black actresses not getting paid years ago. If anybody thought, they thought she was crazy, and what Taraji was getting for that movie, that's ridiculous. And other people getting. Did you hear what she got for the one she got an Oscar for the one about the one with the man
something buttons.
Yeah,
something buttons.
She got paid what? $50,000, $80,000, $100,000. Where Brad Pitt got paid $12 million, $13 million. That's ridiculous. That's a slack. And she was the main character.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Main character. But I guess they figure, listen, you wouldn't be in your where you are now if it wasn't for me giving you the opportunity, which is true. That's why I love it when comedians do what they got to do, pave the way, and open the doors for other ones. Eddie Murphy did it right. You think Eddie Murphy probably liked wearing that buckwheat outfit and James did all the things, but he did what he had to do. So now Eddie Murphy is employing so many comedians right now, it's ridiculous. So many actors right now, it's ridiculous. And all his shows, all his movies that he's doing. I see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You gotta sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to pave the way and open doors for the other comedians. And that's all they do.
For others.
Yep.
All right. Oh my gosh. We're out of time.
Wow. That was a quick hour.
It was a quick hour. It has been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to meet you. You are related to two of my favorite people, Yvette and Patrice.
Yes.
And, it's funny. It's not funny, but, God is always intentional in what he does. And I probably would not have ever known you or met you if it had not been for Patrice and Yvette.
And I want to give them a shout out to, and one day I'm prophesying that we go on tour together. One day, the Carey sisters and Grandma G will go on tour and do some big shows together. I'm seeing it in the future.
And is there anything else you want to say before we shut this down for tonight?
Reach out to me. Reach out to you on Facebook, comedian Howard Gaskins on Facebook. Instagram is Howard.Gaskins.5, Howard.Gaskins.5 on Instagram. And hey, I love to come to your city, come to your venue and make you laugh. I just want to make you laugh. That's all I want to do. And
shout out to some of these pastors down in the Triangle area, the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area.
Yes.
Shout out to some of these pastors.
I'd love to come down there. Send for me, Pastor. But don't pay me no chicken either. I don't want to get paid in chicken.
The favorite chicken.
That's how they do. Well, we got a meal for you. We let you stay at my sister-in-law house, and her she got a nice basement, and we give you a bucket of chicken and some okra and some mashed potatoes in the morning, son. And we need you come in and tell some jokes. No, Pastor, I need to get some currency, some real money.
Paid, right?
That's right. And I want to thank you, Pastor Lydia, for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I had a great time.
Oh, thank you again. And hopefully we'll see you down here in the Triangle area in the next,
let it come down there.
Maybe this year. We'll see. I'll, make sure my pastor takes a look at this interview and gets to know you. And yeah, we're in a building fund, right now.
Let's
too.
make it happen. Don't forget, you supposed to be setting it up. You supposed to be my agent. You supposed to be setting it up.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.
All
Have
right.
a good one.
Now,
God bless.
all my audience too, for I don't see any faces, but I see comments.
All right.
And I see some hands clapping, so they enjoyed the. But I'm going to get back to you all that I don't see your face, but I like to kind of interact and answer some questions or just thank people for tuning in to Lydia's Tea Talk on this evening. All right. Thanks again, sir. God
Have
bless.
a blessed one. All right.
Bye. You too. Well, thank you. That was Mr. Howard Gaston. And we had some joke. We had some fun tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show, Lydia's Tea Talk. And guess what? We're going to be back tomorrow. There was a young lady that could not be on the show on Mondays. So she's going to be back with me tomorrow evening for another session of Lydia's Tea Talk. Her name is Nellie Griffith. I introduced her this morning on Early Morning Tea. I introduced this book that she wrote, it's an anthology. There were several other women that collaborated with her in writing this book, Girl, Get Your Life Back. And so we talked about a little bit about her story. She had a stroke. And this morning I was just sharing some information in the beginning of the book in which she talks to us about what a stroke is and some of the symptoms of stroke and things that we need to be on the lookout. I'm going to be sharing this book on my Early Morning Tea platform starting this week. And tomorrow night, we get to meet the author of this book. I'm so excited to have Nellie Griffith come and be a part of our Lydia's Tea Talk tomorrow. So please tune in. This is a special Tuesday show that I kind of had to fit her in there. You will be happy that I did. Okay. So thank all of you. Dr. Noreen, thank you for being with us this evening, and anyone else you might have had to do something else or go someplace else. Maybe you didn't see the whole broadcast, but it's streaming on my platform. It's streaming on Lydia Ford International Ministries. That's my YouTube channel. So you can go and you can view it there. And please share. Sharing is caring. And thank you for your time. And I will see you tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for another Lydia's Tea Talk podcast show. Bye. Okay.